Some stories of connection don't just warm the heart, they quietly challenge the rules we assume are fixed. There are bonds that invite the world to pause and reconsider what commitment truly means. We share life, we share purpose, we share the everyday journey. There is only one label we never chose. What is it? Marriage. That reflection captures how Goldie Hawn once described her life with Kurt Russell, a partnership spanning more than 4 decades, untouched by formal promises, yet resilient beyond many celebrated unions in the public eye. Then, at 79, during what appeared to be an ordinary exchange, Goldie Hawn unsettled the familiar narrative. She revealed a thought she had carried quietly for decades. "I never felt drawn to marriage with Kurt, because I feared that choosing it might change what we already had." That single idea invites reflection. Does enduring connection truly require ceremony to survive time? Perhaps it was that awareness, that careful guarding of what mattered most, that allowed their bond to remain intact for more than 40 years. Leave a comment with 1 if this perspective resonates with you, or 0 if you see commitment through a different lens. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel, because behind every legendary Hollywood story lies an unseen layer, and we're here to explore it with you. After years of being celebrated as a quiet emblem of enduring devotion, Goldie Hawn gradually began to soften the myth that surrounded her story. Subtle reflections led many to wonder whether the joy so long admired from afar had truly been as smooth and untroubled as it appeared. Perhaps over time, she discovered a more honest way to exist, one that allowed her inner thoughts to surface after being gently concealed within a relationship the public viewed as flawless. Ultimately, which reflections did she choose to express that prompted others to reconsider what they believed about her life? These thoughts sparked curiosity not only among admirers but across the wider entertainment landscape. She came to realize that life rarely unfolds without friction, and what she shared could help others see a different layer of truth, one shaped by endurance and quiet resilience. Long before recognition found her, she was simply a young girl beneath a dripping ceiling, learning to summon a smile so tears would not define her days. Goldie Hawn entered the world in 1945 in the quiet outskirts of Tacoma Park near Washington, D.C. Growing up in a modest, weather-worn home surrounded by working families, life offered little ease, and each day carried its own quiet test. When rain fell, it slipped through the ceiling, blending with the echoes of her father's aging piano. His passion for music never became a livelihood, yet he continued to shape ordinary melodies into moments of meaning, even when they could not sustain the household. Her mother, a gentle yet disciplined dance teacher, labored constantly to hold the family together while caring for 3 children. Those formative years never faded from Goldie's inner world. They became the source of her resolve not only to move beyond hardship, but to preserve her inner light and emotional strength, even as the path forward demanded endurance and grace. In that cramped space, Goldie often moved to rhythms only she could hear, her dress circling softly through shallow pools left by the rain. It was there she learned to let a smile mask quiet sorrow, a delicate armor she would carry into later years. At school, amid whispers and unkind remarks, the stage became the one place where she felt anchored. In the early 1950 seconds, she was a small, uncertain child with unruly, pale blonde hair, frequently overlooked or misunderstood by those around her. Yet the instant music flowed through her mother's dance studio, something within her awakened. Her steps grew fluid, and a new brightness appeared in her eyes. Sound became the one realm where Goldie felt truly acknowledged, a space where she could simply exist without shaping herself to fit expectations. Each movement offered a gentle escape from the solitude of her fragile home and the sharp remarks that seemed to follow her steps. When melodies rose, her young frame responded with natural flow, and the glow of the lights settled around her like a quiet reassurance she rarely found elsewhere. In that brief radiance, she felt valued, recognized, even if only in passing. Yet the stage also revealed an early truth. Brightness is never permanent. It lingers for a time, then gradually recedes, leaving behind a calm silence she learned to face and understand. In 1955, at only 10 years old, Goldie stepped into the spotlight for the first time, performing in the Nutcracker at a modest community theater. The applause rolled through the room like distant thunder, and the glow of the lights filled her young face with unmistakable wonder. Yet when the curtain closed and the seats slowly emptied, she remained alone behind the stage. Her father was still occupied elsewhere, her mother was finishing her work, and only the evening air accompanied her walk home as her pale costume brushed against damp ground. In that stillness, a quiet understanding settled in the stage could draw attention, but it could not hold presence. From that evening forward, Goldie carried a subtle awareness within her, an unease shaped by the hush after celebration. The space left when admiration fades, and the realization that visibility does not always equal belonging once the lights fall away. The louder the praise became, the more she sensed the quiet waiting just beyond the glow. As she grew older, Goldie performed with small theater circles around Washington, D.C., before setting her sights on New York in 1964. She settled into a narrow attic room in Manhattan, its air heavy and walls worn, spending her days moving to music and her evenings guiding others, carefully stretching each dollar beneath the cool shimmer of city lights. Night after night, after removing the traces of performance from her face, she would pause before the mirror, studying a reflection marked by effort, and quietly wonder, if the smile fades, will anyone remain? That expression had become her armor, a role she felt unable to set aside. Shaped by hardship and guided by the stage, Goldie learned to exist in the fragile space between recognition and the lingering worry of being overlooked. A quiet sense of absence followed her through her early years, echoing like her father's unfinished melodies or the steady drip from the ceiling of her childhood home. Those who crossed her path always seemed to move on, much like an audience dispersing once the show was over. The expectation of departure became instinct. Each time she opened her heart, she prepared herself for the moment of separation. From that awareness, questions about enduring connections slowly took shape. Even later, within formal commitments, those uncertainties remained with Goldie Hawn. Then, in a twist that felt almost poetic, the brightness she once hesitated to trust returned, illuminating her path more strongly than before. In 1977, during an intimate music gathering in New York, Goldie encountered Gus Tronis, a Cuban dancer whose calm smile and deep gaze carried the quiet warmth of a passing night breeze. He carried no public recognition, yet his presence held a steadiness that allowed Goldie to breathe with ease, something rarely afforded by her fast-moving, layered world. They rehearsed side by side, moved in quiet harmony, shared modest meals within a small living space, and smiled as rain traced patterns above them. Gus once offered a simple promise: "I may not give you everything, but I will be here when you return." Those words settled deeply, giving Goldie the sense that she had finally reached a place of belonging. In 1969, as her name slowly began to surface beyond familiar circles, they chose a private union in Hawaii. The moment was understated, only a few trusted faces, pale flowers in hand, and the rhythm of the sea merging with soft laughter. In the weathered photograph from that day, she leaned gently against him, her gaze bright with the hope that this connection would remain constant, untouched by time. Two years later, the union came to a quiet close on an ordinary afternoon, absent of rain or unrest. There were no raised voices or visible conflict, only the soft sound of ink meeting paper. Gus, once her nearest presence, stepped away without spectacle, carrying a few belongings and moments that seemed to dissolve as he left. Goldie remained in the still apartment, surrounded by unsaid thoughts and an unfamiliar hush. She glanced at the rooms that had once held ease and shared laughter, now stripped to their simplest form. Her father's old piano stayed behind, a fragment of memory she could not release, a place she returned to whenever stillness was needed. She would sit beside it, letting imagined melodies linger, as though those echoes might briefly reconnect her to earlier days and offer a gentle trace of comfort from a time already past. Yet life does not always honor the quiet vows whispered by the ocean. That same year, beneath the grand lights of Los Angeles, Goldie Hawn, the blonde figure known for a radiant smile, walked onto the Oscar stage to receive her first golden statue. Applause surged, flashes ignited, and countless eyes followed the birth of a new presence in the spotlight. Still, in the midst of that brilliance, she became aware of a vacant place among the seats. Gus was not there. When the celebration faded, Goldie returned to their modest home in Laurel Canyon. The corridor light settled on an unopened suitcase, her pale dress still carrying a trace of fragrance, and a silence that felt heavier than words. Gus waited in the shadows, a cigarette slowly burning between his fingers, his eyes fixed somewhere far away. Nothing was said. Goldie returned from a long photo session to an apartment wrapped in darkness. As she stepped inside, her eyes slowly adjusted to the dense shadows settling into every corner. Her footsteps echoed softly, as though the space itself had been drained of presence. On the table rested a single, unmoving sheet of paper. "I need to step away for a while." The message was brief, offering no reason and no reassurance. She held the note with unsteady hands, the gentle glow of a small holiday tree catching the moisture on her cheeks. In that instant, it felt as if the structure of her life had quietly given way, leaving her suspended in an emotion she could not yet name. Beyond the windows, the city shimmered with motion and light, but within those walls, everything had settled into a lasting stillness. She understood then that what had been lost would not simply return to its former shape. She struggles to persuade herself that what remains is truly sufficient, because her sense of joy feels no deeper than the costume she wears or the familiar expression she offers when it is expected. Weariness settles in fatigue with her own reflection, fatigue with the constant pull of expectations, and in those quiet moments, what she seeks most is a sense of calm that feels real. As recognition grew, so did her unease toward happiness itself. She began to doubt assurances, to question the idea of permanence. Admiration from crowds and opportunities beyond measure held little meaning if her inner world felt hollow. She could not escape the realization that with every gain, fragments of herself seemed to slip away. Because beneath it all, she had come to understand a difficult truth. Fulfillment cannot be purchased, nor can it be displayed. It must be felt, quietly, from within. The woman who once drew countless eyes beneath bright lights and flashing cameras now moves through life with greater quiet. Her sight has grown uncertain, shaped by struggles unseen by the outside world. There is a gentle irony in knowing that someone who offered so much brightness to others now walks through moments of shadow herself. This contrast gives her journey a deeper resonance. If Goldie ever left an impression on you, her legacy is not defined by sorrow, but by appreciation. It lingers like a memory, a soft expression of thanks to a woman who shared light freely, even when much of her own path was dim. Goldie Hawn entered the world on the 21st of November 1945 in Washington, D.C., a place alive with ambition, where purpose echoes through stone halls and polished avenues. He leaned closer and murmured, "I've never known someone whose smile could feel so radiant and yet carry such quiet weight." Those simple words moved through her like a gentle current, easing the haze she had borne for so long. Goldie laughed, an unguarded sound she hadn't truly allowed herself in nearly 2 years of stillness. It wasn't a practiced expression or a polite response. It rose from a place that felt briefly unburdened. In the months that followed, they were naturally drawn together, two spirits finding warmth during a season that felt cold. Bill offered her a sense of care and presence that recognition never could. He didn't approach her as a symbol, he met her as a person, aware of her sensitivities, hopes, and unfinished healing. Through his gaze, Goldie rediscovered a long-missed warmth, the understanding and sincere affection she had been quietly seeking. On certain evenings, she lifts the window and gazes at the city below, its countless lights shimmering like distant stars, quietly wondering how many faces are glowing outwardly while feeling just as hollow within. The brilliant skyline seems to insist that life is vibrant and overflowing. Yet beneath that motion and color, a quiet solitude settles deep inside her. People say she has reached the summit of success, admired, recognized, surrounded by comfort. But inside the home, perched on a Hollywood hillside, there is only a weary woman practicing the art of appearing content. Night after night, she sits before the mirror, gently removing the traces of performance, studying her faded reflection, and softly asking herself, if the smile disappears, will anyone still choose to remain? Between them existed an unseen space, the quiet divide between one rising ever higher and another remaining rooted where they began. As time passed, Goldie's visibility expanded, and the stillness between them grew heavier. Her days were filled with sets and cameras, while headlines praised her as Hollywood's image of joy. Yet when she crossed the threshold back home, the expression fell away. Emil waited untouched. The seat opposite her stayed vacant. Gus sat nearby, absorbed in the newspaper. Goldie observed him. They resembled two performers sharing a scene, uncertain who was meant to move first. In her journal, she noted, "When I smile now, his gaze no longer meets mine." On Christmas night in 1971, Los Angeles carried an unexpected chill. She convinced herself that this connection would follow a different course, that perhaps life had finally placed beside her someone capable of steadying what had long felt fragile, someone who understood without demanding explanation. On the 3rd of July, 1976, they joined their lives in Washington, D.C. Inside a modest church washed in soft afternoon gold, light filtered through stained glass, surrounding the room with a calm, reverent warmth. Goldie wore a plain white dress, simple yet quietly luminous. As she held Bill's hand and met his eyes, she spoke softly. "I'm ready to believe again." The words reached beyond him. They were a commitment to herself to allow trust, to loosen the grip of old fears, and to stop letting past pain dictate the future. In that instant, burdens felt lighter, earlier wounds seemed distant, and a fresh path appeared ahead, shaped by possibility and renewed hope. Every moment of inner strain, every tear quietly dismissed, every appearance carried through while bearing unseen weight, became the foundation of her endurance. Yet this was never a loud or celebrated kind of strength. It existed softly, a restrained resilience that yields without shattering, a will that endures long enough to understand how endurance works. Still, it often resembled a cage, tightening around both body and spirit with expectations that left little space for gentleness. She moved with elegance, yet each motion held a trace of unspoken heaviness. In her mother's studio, warmth gave way to exactness, and care was measured through correction. Discomfort was not discussed. It was meant to disappear behind perfection. Her early years were not serene. They were lessons in persistence disguised in satin shoes and ribbons, where pain was concealed beneath polished form and disciplined grace. Her longing was painfully modest. "I only want to feel content," yet even that quiet hope often seemed distant. Night after night, she would give in to silent tears, pressing them into a pillow so the sound could disappear, slowly unraveling in ways no one witnessed. To the world, she appeared like a child of light, constantly pleasant, endlessly upbeat, always ready to lift the atmosphere around her. Within, however, she was quietly coming undone, fragment by fragment. Years later, she would distill her endurance into a single, striking truth. "I learned to laugh so the sorrow wouldn't surface." The smile others admired as natural was anything but. It was a carefully built shield shaped by fear, hardened by experience, and sustained through sheer resolve. Goldie's journey is not the tale of delicacy. It is the steady, unyielding creation of someone who learned how to survive. Love rarely fades because of open wounds. It slowly disappears when words are no longer spoken. Within that quiet space, Small fractures emerged, doubts that led Goldie Hawn to question whether commitment alone could ever protect what matters most. And just as she believed her heart had closed for good, timing intervened, offering a presence marked by warmth and a reassurance capable of softening old scars. In 1975, aboard a flight traveling from New York to Los Angeles, the 30-year-old Goldie Hawn sat near the window, partially hidden behind large sunglasses to escape the familiar curiosity of fellow passengers. Beside her was Bill Hudson, a young musician with gentle curls, a calm voice, and a smile that seemed able to ease heaviness and momentarily lift the weight of unspoken feelings. Yet at times, even hope can quietly open the door to another ache. In the beginning, their Beverly Hills home felt alive with warmth, soft laughter, the gentle rhythm of daily life, and the presence of new beginnings. Their son, Oliver, came into the world in 1976. Not long after, their daughter, Kate Hudson, followed, her lively gaze and natural brightness reflecting familiar traits. For the first time, Goldie sensed the shape of a complete home. In a rare moment of openness, she once shared softly, "For the first time, it feels like someone is waiting for me when I return." But fulfillment, as she had learned before, was never guaranteed to remain. As Goldie's visibility continued to grow, the brilliance surrounding her success slowly cast shadows that Bill found difficult to navigate. Decades later, the echoes of earlier hurt still lingered within Goldie's heart. On Father's Day in 2015, her son, Oliver Hudson, posted a photo with his father online, accompanied by a brief yet piercing caption, "Happy Abandonment Day." The message stirred emotions long held beneath the surface, unsettling the calm exterior Goldie had carefully maintained for years. Memories resurfaced, the quiet evenings, unmet hopes, and the ache of seeing her children confront a familiar sense of absence. Bill Hudson, once both partner and parent, reacted with visible anger, publicly announcing a decision to sever ties, as though strong words could rewrite what had already passed. Goldie chose silence. Share one if you believe time has the power to soften even the deepest marks, or zero if you feel some impressions never truly fade. And remember to like, share, and subscribe for more reflections behind Hollywood's brightest expressions, where every shine carries its own quiet depth. She spent most of her days under studio lights, while he gradually receded into the background cast by her growing presence. The tender conversations they once shared slowly transformed into tense exchanges. Bill would leaf through magazines, pause on images of her beside fellow actors, and ask quietly but sharply, "Did he make you smile?" Goldie remained wordless, aware that any response would only deepen the divide. To him, her quiet felt like blame. To her, it was simply weariness. By the late 1970s, whispers in the press began to circle around her connection with one of Hollywood's most magnetic figures, Warren Beatty. The tension at home intensified. Objects were displaced, memories disturbed, and a framed moment from their past fell away. Goldie did not respond. The quiet that stood between them was no longer passing, it had settled in, firm and unmoving. Not long after, he published a memoir titled "So You Are a Star," framing his account as a story of broken trust and misunderstood independence, suggesting freedoms that he believed crossed invisible lines. The entertainment world buzzed with speculation. Reporters gathered outside her home in Pacific Palisades, seeking answers, but Goldie chose silence. When asked whether she wished to explain herself, she offered only a gentle expression and said, "I once cared deeply for him." Yet sometimes, care on its own cannot hold everything together. She closed the door and allowed the noise to remain outside. From that point forward, Goldie shaped a quieter life with her two young children, Oliver and Kate, in a simple house on a hillside facing the sea. By day, she fulfilled her work. By night, she read stories at their bedside. After sleep settled in, she would sit near the window, gazing at the distant glow of Los Angeles, the same city that continued to celebrate her as a symbol of joy. At the time, Kurt was 16 and Goldie 21, two young lives crossing briefly, like distant stars moving through separate skies. Years later, they encountered one another again, each carrying the marks of earlier chapters, each with eyes no longer untouched by time. In that instant, Goldie sensed something new, as if life were quietly offering another beginning, without promising that it would be any gentler than before. Kurt was no longer the reserved boy she once knew. After a marriage that had come and gone, he had become more grounded, more composed, shaped by experience and the knowledge of how to stand back up. Goldie, meanwhile, had lived through two endings, was caring for two children, and carried a heart that felt too tender to open without caution. A young woman with sunlit hair and a form shaped by grace entered Hollywood's unforgiving glare, carrying a radiance that was impossible to ignore. She sparkled an image of charm and youth refined into striking appeal. Yet even at the height of that glow, a subtle sense of being unseen began to surface. The industry applauded her smile, her buoyant laughter, her playful presence on screen, while quietly overlooking the depth of thought and feeling beneath it. "I became known for being delightful," she reflected years later. Her tone was calm, though it carried a quiet ache, but that was never the whole of me. Beyond the polished surface, I worked every day to be recognized not as decoration or amusement, but as someone with something meaningful to offer.